Good day, everyone. I am Vallega. I would like to share my research entitled by The Influence of Social Gender Rules Norms Towards Gender Role Attitudes Among Grade 10 Students in Sagaing National High School. In introduction, in a rural area of Istanbul, Turkey, a study examined the link between university student perception of gender roles in their epistemological belief. The research utilized a mixed method approach involving 517 students for quantitative analysis and 85 for qualitative insights. This data gathered using the Gender Role Attitude Scale by Kohadaroglu 2021. In China, the data indicates a surprising trend. Mean Men seem to derive more happiness from gender equality than women. This phenomenon often occurs in countries where gender equality has been achieved, known as the gender equality paradox, while it is conducting interviews with 10 participants. In Philippines, located in Mandaluyong City, the study collected from random residents, it shows that women are significantly more likely than men to experience repeated minor insult at work by Parker 2017, Multidisciplinary International Journal of Research and Development 2024, stated that 16% of women reporting such as incident compared with 5% of men and women are nearly 4 times more likely than men. At Asuncion Sagayan National High School, student attitudes toward gender role are shaped by a mix of traditional values and evolving perspective, while many students still adhere to conventional gender roles influenced by family and cultural expectation. There is a growing awareness and acceptance of more progressive news. Those of these students in Sagayan National High School have ungender role attitudes by thinking their personal standard or their identity. In research objectives, number one is to describe the level of gender role norms. The second one is to describe the level of gender role attitudes. And the third one is to determine the significant relationship between gender role norms and gender role attitudes. And the last one is to determine which domain of gender role norms significantly influenced by gender role
So in this slide,
attitudes.
hypothesis, number one is there is no significant relationship between gender role norms among grade 10 student. Number two is there is no domain of gender role norms significantly influence the gender role attitudes.
And quantitative non-experimental correlation design. So in this research design, the study will utilize the quantitative non-experimental design with a descriptive correlational techniques to examine the relationship between two identified variables. The chosen methods aims to describe any existing correlation and determine the directions and magnitudes of such as a relationship if present. The descriptive correlational approach is appropriate as it allows for the investigation of the relationship between
In this
independent and
slide,
dependent
there are
variables. Three theory. First is social rule theory by Alice H. PhD, and the second one is schema theory by Sandra Ben in 1981, and then the cognitive theory by Jane Pickett. First theory is anchored on the theory of social role theory by Alice HPD. Is a psychologist and a scholar of social role theory. Um, this theory recognized for her work on the psychology of gender. Her original approach provided the social psychological terms for understanding gender, highlighting the link between social behavior and gender roles. The second one theory is the schema theory by Sandra Bim. This study is supported by the theory of Sandra Bim in 1981. The children learn about male and female rules from the cultures in which they live. According to the theory, children adjust their behavior to align with the gender norms of their culture from the earliest stages of social development. The gender schema theory was introduced by psychologist Sandra Pym. The last one theory is supported by the theory of Jean Piaget. These children intelligence undergoes changes as they grow. Cognitive development in children is not only related to acquiring knowledge, children need to build or develop a mental model of their surrounding world. His work is regarded as the cornerstone in the field of developmental psychology. This theory examined the implication his work has for the intellectual development of children and classroom. In this research local, the area of the investigation's Davao region, officially designated as Region 6, is an administrative region in the Philippines, occupying the southeastern section of Mindanao. It covers 5 provinces, namely Davao de Oro, Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, and Davao Occidental, and lastly Davao Oriental. As well as a highly urbanized city, the regional center is the Davao City. However, in the district of Asuncion, Davao del Norte, as indicated by the 2015 census, it has a populations of 59,322 individuals with land region of 296.39 kilometer. The municipality is made of 20 barangays. This research will take place on Barangay Sagayin, especially on Sagayin National High School. The population and sample of this research, I have 245 respondents. The grade 10 level at Sagayin National High School will be the respondent in this investigation. A total of 245 students made of the population size of the respondents based on the random sampling will be chosen in compliance with the standard and the teacher's consent, authorizations and instructions, and the guidance of the school head. So, the sections I have is Darwin, Edison, Einstein, Fleming, Galilei, and Mendel. Then each section have 40 plus population size. In total of 245. So, the level of gender rule norms in table 1, um, I have two indicators. There are social gender rule and norms. Then the mean of social gender rule is 2.84 and the descriptive level is high. Then the norms is 2.80. The description level is high. And the overall of the two mean is 2.83. The description in table 2 is the level of gender role attitudes. I have 4 indicators here, and namely gender role attitudes, masculinity attitudes, attitudes towards women advancement, and social norms and expectation of males and females in your community. Then the mean of gender role attitudes is 2.99 and the descriptive level of high. Then the masculinity attitude, the mean of 2.92 and the description level is high. The attitudes towards women advancement, the main is 2.99, got high. Then the social norms and expectations of males and females in your community got 2.82 mean with description level of high. Overall of these four indicators got 2.93 mean and the description level is high. Based on the table 1 and 2, the descriptive equivalent is very high. That gender role attitudes and gender role norms is very much observed. So in the table 3, the R value is 0.3022. The correlation is weak correlation. Then the R squared value is 0.091. And the P value is 0.00. And the decision is rejected. And the conclusion of this table is significant. In this table, number 4, indicators of social gender norms and norms of the independent variables got the p-value of two indicators got 0.00 and the decisions of these indicators is rejected. And the dependent variables is the gender role attitudes, the masculinity attitudes, and the attitudes towards women advancement, and social norms and expectations of male and female in your community. Community got the p value and the decisions is the same. Got the 0.00 and each indicators got rejected. In this summary of findings, the first one is the level of gender role norms has an overall mean of 2.83 with the descriptive equivalent of high. The second one is the level of gender role attitudes among grade 10 students has an overall mean of 2.93 with a descriptive equivalent of high. The third is there is a statistically significant relationship between gender role norms and gender role attitudes of grade 10 student as indicated by a probability value of 0.00 and a significant level of 0.05 leading to the rejections of the null hypothesis. The last one is in statistical terms, there is a significant evidence to reject the idea that the gender identity is not impacted by student, as the calculated probability value of 0.00 is lower than the commonly accepted level of significant of 0.05. In conclusion of this research, the level of gender role norms is highly evident. The level of gender role attitudes is highly evident. There is a significant relationship between gender role norms and gender role attitudes. Social gender role norms relationship is significant in predicting the gender role attitudes among grade 10 students. The recommendation of this paper, the first one is the implement gender sensitive curricula. Schools should include gender studies to educate students about gender roles, equality, and diversity. The second one is promote co-educations and equal participation. Encourage mixed signal classrooms where students work together and participate equally in activities. The third one is introduce workshop on gender equality. Hold workshops to challenge gender stereotypes and promote equality through interactive activities. The fourth is encourage diverse role models. Showcase role models from various backgrounds to show that gender does not limit success. The fifth is challenge gendered language. Encourage the use of inclusive language and avoid phrases that reinforce gender stereotypes. 6 is provide gender neutral spaces and resources. It means created gender-neutral restrooms and uniforms to ensure all students feel included and comfortable. Seven is encourage critical thinking about media representation. Teach student to analyze media critically and recognize how it shapes gender perception. The last one is foster an inclusive school culture. Create a safe and inclusive environment where all students can express their gender identity without fear of discrimination. That's all. Thank you.